Are you planning on going to the Japanese Grand Prix in the near future? Hi, my name is Lauren and this is my new series called Road to Suzuka, where I'm going to be talking about my new experience of learning about going to the Japanese Grand Prix for the first time. Whilst I've spent a lot of time in Japan, this is a new experience for me. And I thought, you know what, let's share the information that I learned with you guys so then you can have a great experience of going to the Japanese Grand Prix. And this episode is going to be about how to get to and from Suzuka Circuit. Now, I'm going to be doing this in 3 episodes, mainly because there is actually 3 major ways that you can actually get to Suzuka. One of them is rail, the other one is bus, and the other one is car. And this episode today will be about the rail system. Look, I get that getting to Suzuka can seem overwhelmingly daunting and also a little bit scary, considering that Japan does have a lot of different train lines and a lot of different rail companies, but I promise that it is not as scary as it seems. And today we're going to be talking about the most straightforward way to actually get to Suzuka via rail. Now, Kintetsu is the only rail company you will need to know throughout your experience of actually getting to and from Suzuka, as it actually operates trains that go to and from either Nagoya, Kyoto, or Osaka to Shiroko Station. Now, Shiroko Station is also the other station I will be talking about in this episode. Whilst it is not the closest station to Suzuka, Suzuka Inno actually takes that title. Let's just keep this completely simple. Shiroko Station offers the most direct route with the least transfers, particularly if you are coming from Nagoya, because you have no transfers to do. So let's just keep this as simple as possible, particularly if you are coming from Nagoya. Now, the reason why I've said Shiroko Station over Suzuka Inno is for 2 major reasons, right? Is the fact that Shiroko Station is a lot bigger station, which means they have more English language signage around, and also a lot more staff are actually on hand who will be able to help you, who can speak some degree of English. Suzuka Inno, for example, is a smaller station with less English language signage and less staff on hand to actually help you. So for the best thing to cover all of your bases will be to go to Shiroko Station. Now, like I said before, Shiroko is not obviously the closest to Suzuka Station. However, there are shuttle buses that will take you from Shiroko Station to and from Suzuka Circuit. But just a heads up on this, be prepared to actually wait to actually get onto the shuttle bus. In peak times, this could actually mean waiting up to an hour to actually get onto a bus. It might be even a little bit longer as well. So if you are planning on actually getting to Suzuka and you're trying to actually beat the rush, the best option you can do is actually try to be as early as possible. And look, I completely understand, especially if you are coming from Western countries, that waiting in a queue can be considered a bit frustrating or maybe actually unacceptable depending on where you come from. But in Japan, queuing is just part of life. It is a social norm. It is part of Japanese culture. I always have a saying, if it's good, if it's important, or if it's tasty, you'll most likely have to queue up for it. So just relax, make sure to take a breath and just be ready to actually queue if time calls for it. So what is the route like to actually get to and from Suzuka? Now, if you are staying in Nagoya, the route you will be wanting to take is from Nagoya Station to Shiroko Station. It will be approximately 1 hour on the train. If you are coming from Kyoto, it will be approximately 2 hours on the limited express train or 3 hours on the all stops train. If you are coming from Osaka Namba, it will be 1 hour 45 minutes on the limited express or 3 hours on the all stops train. So this is where I said earlier that staying in Nagoya is your best option because it will be a lot quicker to actually get to and from the circuit, with it being only 50 kilometers away or 30 miles away. Now, I know I said in my last episode about catching the Shinkansen from, say, Osaka to Nagoya or Kyoto to Nagoya. However, whilst catching the Shinkansen will be the quicker option to do to get to and from those major stations to Nagoya and then get the train down to Shiroko to Suzuka, the thing is though, this is going to be a little bit tricky, particularly if you're traveling with a group and particularly if you're traveling with children as well. If you're not a resident of Japan, it will be a little bit more affordable to get a JR pass. Yes, they are expensive, but it will be a little bit more affordable because Shinkansen train tickets are very expensive. The other thing you'll also need to do is actually book your tickets in advance. You can't just turn up like for a regular commuter train. You need to actually book your tickets in advance. So you'll need to actually do all the pre-organizing when you get your JR pass to actually do this. You'll have to try and book your tickets and then also hope that you do not miss your Shinkansen back to, say, Osaka or Kyoto if you're returning back to Nagoya, because there is a chance you may actually get delayed as well. So the Kintetsu rail will be the best option to get to and from Shiroko, Suzuka, to get to the circuit. And cost-wise, this is going to add up depending on where you're coming from. So if you're planning on coming from Nagoya, it will cost you 2,000 yen round trip. From Kyoto, it will cost you 8,500 yen round trip if you're on the Limited Express. If you are on the all stops, it will cost you 4,900 yen. And if you are coming from Osaka, it will cost you 7,000 yen, irrespective if you take Limited Express or if you take all stops. So cost-wise, this can add up. It is going to cost you approximately $170 for the 3 days of the Grand Prix weekend. Now, here's the thing. Kintetsu actually has a rail pass for 5 days. Now, how much is that going to cost for 5 days? From 4,500 yen. You will get unlimited rail travel for the 5 days on all Kintetsu rail lines, except for Limited Express. Now, how do you actually get a Kintetsu rail pass? The best option is to do this before you actually leave for Japan. It will be cheaper to do it before you actually leave for Japan. So the 4,500 yen cost that I've actually quoted, that is what will be before you leave for Japan. It will be more expensive if you arrive in Japan and buy one there. Now, I got my Kintetsu rail pass through Klook. It lets you actually pay in your local currency, but also the other added bonus is that you can actually book it now if you're planning on actually going to the 2025 Japanese Grand Prix, because it actually has an 180-day window for you to actually exchange your voucher to get your Kintetsu rail pass. So you can book it now with plenty of time to spare. Now, my other biggest tip about actually getting around Japan as well, because as I said, it is a little bit daunting, especially if you're trying to get around Japan with so many different rail systems, so many different rail companies, and that biggest tip is to get Google Maps. It is an absolute life changer, especially when navigating Japan. It will show you everything you need, including what train you need to catch, which direction it's going, what platform you need to get off at, what's the best carriage to get on at, ticket costs, and also, most importantly, train times. It's an absolute lifesaver, particularly when you're in a country where you don't speak the language and you can't read the language as well. So that's all for the first episode of how to get to and from Suzuka. Next week, I will cover the options about getting the bus to and from Suzuka. All right, peace out, guys.